Yes, of course, we're talking about the big plebiscite that happened last night, whether we were voting yes for or against the Olympics. And Erin Waite is here now from the no side. Well, I guess let's first start off with your reaction to what happened last night.
Well, we were pleased to see that Calgarians looked at more than the bid book. I think they really looked at what this, how this fit with Calgary, and most of them concluded that it wasn't a good fit for Calgary right now.
Right now, exactly. Now, you and I have spoken on the show about this before, and you always said, you know, it wasn't necessarily a no to the Olympics, but it was a yes to the city of Calgary and what we need to do here.
Mm-hmm. When you look at it, it's always been an issue that the host city doesn't get a great deal from the Olympics, and that was our concern. It doesn't mean we can't celebrate our athletes performing on the world stage somewhere else. We're all behind Team Canada and our athletes. So that was never the issue. And this particular process seemed to be flawed from A to Z, and I think that registered with people as well.
What do you mean by flawed?
Well, we know that all through the process there had been committed deadlines, and every one of them were missed. There had been a commitment about the information that would be shared with Calgarians and the timing of that, and that didn't happen. And then that last financial deal that was made at the 11th hour did seem to be a bit tricky and confusing for people to understand. And if it's a major expense like hosting the Olympics is, and you're not quite understanding the deal, you know, in other investments you would walk away if it didn't make sense to you. And so I think that was the reaction.
That was the reaction, for sure. So what do you think this means then for the city of Calgary as a city moving forward?
Well, the delightful thing through this process, even though we were a no, which was not always a fun position, it did lead to excellent conversations with lots of Calgarians. It crossed political lines. You know, I talked to people way outside of my usual bubble of people that I'm involved with, and that was delightful. We had conversations about other parts of our economy that we could be working on, what's important to the city, whether something like hosting the Olympics helps enough Calgarians, because really a small percentage would end up being involved or participating in any active way. And so, you know, what are those measures we need to look at before we take on such a large project?
What do you think it means in terms of sort of the emotional level in the city? You know, a lot of people are feeling a bit down today, but what you're suggesting is actually this is a really positive thing moving forward. This is about the city coming together, having conversations, and then saying, hey, let's come up with some new ideas. Let's try something different. Not the Olympics, but something else.
Yeah, I think it can be galvanizing. I think, thankfully, a clear decision is easier to move past.
Yes.
And so I think it is hopefully a quicker process to bring everyone together to say, okay, what is next? If not that, then what? And I get that. I get the concern on that level, but I think that's an opportunity as well. I would love to see our city council, you know, move past this quickly and get on with what we need to be looking at as a city. And just that real focus on what makes a livable city, you know, picking up on the most recent celebration of opening our new library and going from there. And so, you know, look at the contrast between a library that's free and accessible to everybody versus the Olympics, right? You know, they're almost symbolic in that sense, in that timing. And so that's the kind of conversation that, to me, is really invigorating.
Were you surprised that the Calgarians seemed quite engaged in this process? You know, there was pretty good turnout, and people were getting out there, and there was lots of conversations being had on social media. Was that reassuring to you?
Absolutely, and that was always a question mark with a November date and a standalone plebiscite that we haven't had very many of. So that was that big question of, will Calgarians step into this conversation? And they did. You know, it was late in the process, but people did, and there were lots of conversations. Probably, you know, some people wanted to vote in a way that stopped all the conversation about the Olympics. It was almost getting to be too much. But that is a healthy sign that people got engaged in the process, and they went out and voted.
They sure did. Erin, thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm sure it was a late night for you.
No, thank you very much.
All right, we're going to go for a break here on Breakfast Television. When we come back, news, weather, and traffic. Stay with us.